So technically, NBA free agency never ends. You have new free agents enter it at the beginning of the new league year, every single year, and you have free agents leave when they get signed to a new team. But after every free agency period, you kind of have an end. You have guys who aren't getting signed here and there, and we have kind of reached that point. There is a couple of free agents left, guys who could make an impact for a team, but I think we have the big picture of winners and losers from free agency, and that's what we're going to talk about. Starting off with the Charlotte Hornets, who are winners. Sign back Miles Bridges on a great contract, 3 years, 75 million. It's a great contract for him, and in this whole thing, you just get Josh Green for free in all of this, and we're not talking about trades here. Reggie Jackson, you also got that account, but Josh Green you get for free in this whole Klay Thompson thing. So you sign back Miles Bridges. Obviously, Josh Green is a plus from other free agency moves, but bringing back Bridges is the big thing. Another winner is the Chicago Bulls. Why are they a winner? DeMar DeRozan left. Now, that sounds mean, but you're going full rebuild. That means you're going full rebuild. But you did make a couple signings. Jalen Smith, he could just ball there. That's really it. Really nothing else to say. And then the Patrick Williams signing, it's a big contract. It is 5 years, 90 million. What is that? Not trying to do that math. It's 18 million. There you go. 18 million a year. Okay, big contract for a guy who really hasn't shown a lot since being the fourth overall pick. 4 years ago. But you wanted to lock him down again. He can just ball there with no DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. Who knows? Vucevic. Who knows? He can be like not the first option with Kobe White, but he can be your best option in the front court. And, hopefully he can develop over the next few years with the team getting worse. Another winner is the Dallas Mavericks, who get Najee Marshall on a good contract, who can be just a backup, just a good defender for you. And you get Klay Thompson on a very good contract, only 3 years, 50 million. Right, 3 years, 50 million, yes. It's a great contract for Klay. Obviously just be a really good shooter who was very apparent in the NBA Finals they needed. And with this offense, with Kyrie and Luka, he's going to get open a lot. And, he didn't put up great numbers last year, obviously, like coming back off 2 injuries, whatever. But down the stretch, played much better. 0-10 in elimination game, whatever the joke is, that's not Klay. Only thing that really hurts is losing Derrick Jones Jr. That really hurts. It really affects their defense. I do question their defense now. Najee Marshall obviously helps that, but I still have to call the winners because getting Klay Thompson on that contract is great. And the next loser, or the first loser, is the Denver Nuggets. Now here it says no players match their filter. That's not true. They got Dario Saric, but you lose KCP. That's it. No matter what you did, really, during the free agency period, unless you ended up getting Paul George in a sign-and-trade, which was never going to happen, really, you're going to lose if you lost KCP. And that's exactly what happened. This free agency tracker on the NBA, it's not great at showing the moves I've made, but we have it in head. We know. You get to buy Detroit. Winners. You get Tobias Harris. Now, I said this for Detroit, that I wanted them to get guys to help them win and get guys around Cade. And they didn't go all in and get a DeMar DeRozan or a Brandon Ingram or whatever. But no, they put some of their chips in, maybe hindering some of their players' development. But you're still better than you were at the start, which was the goal. Tobias Harris, 2-year deal, not a long-term contract, which is what you want. He can hopefully find himself in Detroit. I know he's getting older, yada yada, whatever. He's going to start in Detroit. He can be a good shooter, hopefully. Just gets back to form slightly. Malik Beasley, 1-year deal, only $6 million. Backup shooter off the bench. You needed to get shooters around Cade. One of the best in the NBA. Fontecchio, I didn't want to say he wasn't coming back to Detroit, but with what he did last year and what his price was going to be, I thought He was gonna go to contender. Contender would want him because he almost averaged 15 points per game on 40% shooting. You get him back. That's three guys who can shoot around Cade, and that's exactly what you want. And they still have so much money to play with. I mean, they spent a fraction of it. They still have 25 million plus. I don't even know. It's honestly, I think that's low balling how much they have. So some guys out there that they can get. Honestly, a few days ago, the ultimate losers of free agency. Now it's getting better. They're getting some guys. Is the Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson, you lost. Obviously, that sucks. You break up the Splash Brothers. You have Paul George, who you failed to get. Is it your fault? No. That was the Clippers' fault for not wanting to trade him there. So, you're kind of scrambling. You're getting guys. You're trying to get replacements. And you know what? They have done a good job, closer to where I want to switch this grade, but I'm still going to call it losers for now. If they get Lauri Markkanen and put him around these pieces, maybe that changes. I know this is a free agency thing, but that changes the outlook of everything. But Kyle Anderson, backup 4. Buddy Hield, probably going to be your starting shooting guard, starting small forward, whatever. That's your new splash brother. D'Anthony Melton also could shoot. You got a lot of shooters. You filled out your role players a good amount. Now, but that's not enough, obviously, for this team. So I'm still going to put them in losers. Next, the Lakers are losers. Maybe the biggest losers because you got no one. You did nothing. All right. Colin Castleton, who cares? Max Christie, good. You know what? Max Christie re-signing, good. You got him on a pretty good deal. Next 4 years. You get LeBron back. Takes a slight pay cut. Not enough of what he initially said or whatever. But you strike out on DeMar. You struck out on everybody. Alright? You struck out on everybody. You still have some contracts you want to trade, but they needed to get somebody. And they didn't. So when I said the Lakers were the ultimate loser of free agency, I lied. The Milwaukee Bucks are the ultimate losers of free agency because they lose Malik Beasley, and then they proceeded to do literally nothing else the entirety of the offseason besides drafting A.J. Johnson and drafting whoever the hell they drafted in the second round. But they got Delon Wright. Can play some backup point guard for you. Yeah, no, it's bad. They did nothing, and while Philly gets much better, New York gets much better, Orlando gets much better, Cleveland is still working together, they're still improving. Indiana outplayed you guys the second half of the year. Boston is still Boston. I don't want to say. The Miami Heat seem to be geared up to still trying to make a big trade. Who knows if they do. You can be falling to a 5 to 7 spot in the Eastern Conference, which may sound extreme. But it's kind of what's happening. Everybody's getting better around you and you are getting worse. With Dame, with Giannis, with whatever, you can't do that. The next winner is the San Antonio Spurs, who just signed Chris Paul. But you needed... Everybody knew they needed a ball handler for Wemby, a primary ball handler that started alongside Wemby. And, there was kind of some rumblings, if Chris Paul gets waived, San Antonio can trade for him, whatever. And they do it. And he becomes the primary ball handler, historically, the winningest loser ever, least winner. You can see the numbers of every team he goes on. The win percentage increases, which is really not the thing that San Antonio wants here. They want a guy who's just going to feed Wemby, make Wemby the best he can be, help Wemby's development as much as possible, and for the year or two, probably just for the year, he is going to do that. And it's just a perfect signing for San Antonio. Why is it? The Clippers made a lot of signings, and they only have one of those signings on here. What are we doing, NBA? What are we doing? Anyway, Clippers are a loser, obviously, because of the Paul George situation, but what they've used the money that they didn't spend on actually been a good free agency. They have gotten good guys. But let's just talk about the Paul George situation because it was handled awfully. You PG talked about on his podcast the offers. 2 years, $60 million. Is that real? And then you lowball him, you basically disrespect him, and you tell, and he's like, I'm not coming back. So that duo gets broken up, or the big three, whatever you want to call it. And then you have the option to trade him to Golden State, and Golden State seemed like they were gonna push a lot. Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, they said they doing a trade. Andrew Wiggins, Brandon Podziemski, picks, whatever, a package, something, a return, assets going back to LA. And they said, we don't want them in Golden State, so we are not going to trade those assets. That's petty. And they would rather have him go to Philly for free than have assets back, which I just don't understand. The only reason I can say is that they don't want to take on Andrew Wiggins' contract. Maybe I get that. But, again, it's assets. In a position where you need as much as you can because you are trying to salvage any last hope with this team before you lose it all and you don't have any of your picks and you're screwed for years to come. And I don't know. But let's look at the bright side for LA. Mo Bamba, backup center. This is the only one that says on there. You got Chris Dunn. Derrick Jones Jr. is a great signing for the price. And he's going to start for you probably. You got back James Harden. And you have like a decent team. They're probably a play-in team though. And you're again, assets could have helped. Those Andrew Wiggins, Brandon Podziemski picks could have helped you. Try to get any assets back you can, and you failed to do that. So that's a loser. The Indiana Pacers are winners. Pascal resigns. Most important thing, you had to do it. And you did. Good contract. Big contract, but a good contract. You had to do it. Obi Toppin resigned. I talked about this before, that I'm like, maybe don't sign Obi Toppin if you want to help Jarace Walker's development. But then now I'm in the stance of like, get your guys. Get as much talent. You're trying to win now. You're not in development mode anymore. You just made the conference finals. You want to win now. So re-sign your guys. And they did. And you lose Jalen Smith and you replace him with James Wiseman. I don't know. I don't expect James Wiseman to get a lot of playing time. But you re-sign your two top guys. The next winner, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who, you know, we're going to talk about the Isaiah Hartenstein contract. But Isaiah Joe re-signed for 4 years on a good contract. Aaron Wiggins re-signed on a good contract for 4 years. They're both young, both great shooters. It's just good. It's something they had to do. It wasn't really talked about much. Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins being free agents, probably because they were very much expected to return to OKC, and they did on long-term deals. Isaiah Hartenstein. The only contract I think people said is an overpay, and I agree. It's an overpay, but it has an out off after the third year. They can $29 million a year for 3 years. Again, it's a lot. You can look at these stats. That's not a guy who should be making $29 million a year. I agree, but you have a lot of cap space if you're Oklahoma City, and you really don't want to allocate that to a star because you already have your big three. You have Chet, you have Jalen Williams, you have Shea. Great role players around them. So you needed a big. That was the biggest question. They needed a big. They weren't a good rebounding team. Kyle Kuzma. They needed a big or a guy who can rebound really well, like a Kyle Kuzma. They go into the Isaiah Hartenstein direction, which I think they were expected to do with the money they had, with the Knicks' lack of money. And the big thing is, it's 3 years. After 3 years, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are going to be extension eligible. So you can sign them back, and Hartenstein's contract goes away. And it's a seamless transition. And that was the big thing. They couldn't sign anybody long term where it would interfere with trying to get Holmgren and Jalen Williams extended. So you can extend them in 3 years, have Isaiah Hartenstein's contract go, and then you can honestly just have Shea, Chet, Jalen Williams as long as you guys want. Next is the Sacramento Kings, who are winners. Malik Monk, I thought was gone. most people thought was gone with the money Orlando had, with the money Utah had. He's gone. Yeah, and they signed him back on a super cheap deal for 4 years. Guy, doesn't get hurt, wins sixth man of the year. I still think even then he is the sixth man on this team. And just a spark plug off the bench, like the ultimate spark plug off the bench in the league. And then was it yesterday or 2 days ago? It was 2 days ago now. DeMar DeRozan. I don't think anybody who predicted him going to Sacramento. No one. And that's your third star, and with what De'Aaron Fox said, you maybe get a little concerned with him being a free agent in 25 next year. Is it next year or 26? I think it's 2026. He's a free agent, saying he won't sign a contract extension, and so you get DeMar DeRozan. You now have, three really good scorers, or three really good offensive players, we'll say, in De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis. There is a shooting concern. I think there is a defense concern. But you got guys like Keon Ellis for that defense. You got Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk for those shooting roles. So you got guys around them to help complement. Now, the only thing is, it's a big move. I still don't think they're a top 4 team in the West. I think they're at best 5. And so, which is not great with the moves you made with this big move. But also one thing, the contract's good. It's $23 million a year, or whatever it was, 23 point something, $70 million over 3 years. It's a good contract for DeMar as well. So I don't know. I really am curious how this team plays. I would talk about it more, but it's weird. It's a weird. I don't want to say, maybe weird's not the right word, but it's more unexpected. So how this team plays, it's going to be a good team, and they still won 46 games last year, and we're 9 seed, didn't even make the playoffs. Should improve a lot. It'll be a fun team too. Let's save the best for last, right? Saving the best for last is what you're supposed to do. And Philly, I just almost said New Orleans. Philly came into this free agency with $65 million in cap, with only 4 guys on the roster. You had Joel Embiid, Paul Reed, Ricky Council, and Jared McCain coming into this team on whatever free agency day was. And you go out and you spend the money. And actually, do they have more money to spend? I don't think they do. I think they did exhaust it all. So let's go down the line. Andre Drummond comes back to Philly. Good contracts, like 2 years. It was like $5 million a year to be their backup center. Tyrese Maxey re-signs on a big deal. It's going to happen. Kelly Oubre was a big guy. He was the number 1 re-sign priority, besides obviously Tyrese Maxey. And they re-sign him. The big one, and you get Paul George. Don't have to spend a pick. Don't have to trade a player. And you get Paul George. Now, let's talk about this. Because people are going to say 4 years, $50 million for a 34-year-old aging star with injury concerns. It's not good. Here's my argument. You have tried for the past, 5 years, I think at this point they have really tried to contend, putting James Harden, you had Ben Simmons, doing all this stuff around Joel Embiid, and it has not gotten anywhere past Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. And you're now threatening that if you don't get big stars, you don't put a contending team around Joel Embiid, a truly contending team, not a team that's going to be in the semifinals, like an actual team that not only is contending but also finds success in the finals, at least make the conference finals. But honestly, may not even be enough to keep Embiid. You may need to get a team that makes the finals, wins the finals. And I thought role players can't do it. Role players are not going to be enough. You can't go and spend $65 million on role players, because you were kind of coming into the year with the same team that, yes, was playing like a 1 seed when Joel was healthy, but ended up losing in the first round. You can't have that type of team. You can't run that back, because then Joel is going to ask for a trade, or Joel is going to leave in free agency whenever he's a free agent. I think it's 2027 or whatever. And in this situation, you are pushing the chips all in, and you are saying we are going to live and die with this Paul George thing. This is the last, not the last thing we do with Embiid, because you can obviously make more moves over the past few years. But you're gonna say over this next 2 to 3 year window, when Paul George is still good, and we still have Tyrese Maxey, we still have Joel Embiid, and we put good role players around them, like Eric Gordon as well, who they didn't mention on this list. And you put around this good team, and you say, if we don't contend with this team, it's over. It wasn't meant to be. We're never going to win with Embiid, because this is a really good team. There's Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. They have size. It's a big team too. Obviously, they still need some backup guards, whatever. They still have mid-level exceptions. They still have trade pieces, whatever. Paul Reed's still there to trade or wait, or whatever. And you are saying that if we don't win with this team, and then at the end of the 3-year window with Paul George or whatever, we haven't won yet, Embiid's going to leave, and that's it. We tried. That's what I think they're saying, is that this is, or maybe not what they're saying, but what's going to happen is that if this is the last run, it's with Embiid, with everything, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that's kind of my argument, is that you have to push the chips all in at one point, and this is it. And the good thing is, if it doesn't work, you have, one first-round pick given up right now? Maybe you're going to use a couple more. And you also have other first-round picks. You have more first-round picks gained than lost, because you have the Clippers picks from the James Harden trade. You only have, one trade from the James Harden trade left, that's not yours, and that's in Brooklyn right now. 2028, and it's a protected pick. So you have your picks. If this doesn't work out and you end up having, Paul George ages and retires on Philly, you end up having to trade Joel Embiid, or Joel Embiid leaves you, you'll still have your picks, and you'll just have to run back to rebuild. It's not what you want to hear, but it's it. That was a really long rant on Philly. Whatever. So it's been a fun free agency. Obviously, we can go on all teams. Still, you can look at this list. Okay, this list isn't showing the best free agents, but you still have a lot of free agencies left, and so stuff is going to change, obviously, with trades and everything too. Offseason's going to change in a 1 week. This entire rant, all these rants, can be useless because of moves made. So thank you all for watching.